Welcome back. You're still watching JK Live, a conversation with the former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka about matters of the nation, but also the politics within the united opposition. And we had just spoken about what's happening inside there. And I asked you a question and you told me that you're not ready to deputize. So it's either you're the candidate or not. Is that what you're saying?
No. I think that I will have to try and convince my colleagues.
Yeah.
And it's my right to do so. I'll have to try as much I can, yeah? Because as you heard me say,
yep,
it's either now or never, okay?
Yeah.
And I think before, if the whole thing is who amongst us would take the ticket and ensure that William Ruto is one term. That is the issue. All of us are committed to that. And as I said, anybody trying to jump out of that arrangement will be seen as a traitor, okay? And so, for me, therefore, I would be very surprised if they were to come and say, you know, now, after all this experience, right? And, you know, it comes with a heavy cost on your personality, on your image, and your ideals. And so, I believe this is the time, Sam.
Okay, this is the time for you. Now, still, politics is about numbers.
Yes.
If you look at the political party that you lead, Wiper,
yeah,
your strength is largely from the Ukambani region.
Say southern region. By the way, I must remind you,
yeah,
that base is very big now.
I'm talking about
base, there's the mountain region,
yeah,
and there's is it southern part of the mountain? Oh yes, I mean that's a port base.
Okay, maybe it has grown. But I'm talking about the numbers in Parliament, because as we speak,
in Parliament, okay.
As you speak, you have 26 members of Parliament, including...
And 3 governors.
Yes.
And so many senators.
Let me just finish.
And over 100 plus MCAs.
But when you look at those members of the National Assembly, majority of them, again, coming from the region of Ukambani, only 1 from Garissa, 1 from Nairobi, 5 Machakos, Kitui 7, 6 Makueni, 2 from Kisii, Taita Taveta 3. So you're looking at how many counties? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Some, yep, when I was not even on the ballot. Please, take that into account.
Yeah.
That we are able to deliver those numbers when I was not even deputizing Raila Odinga. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a TIFA research that has come out.
That base. Yeah,
I don't know about that. Yes, it came out today.
Yeah.
That most political parties have lost the loyalty. When you're talking about UDA or is it ODM, Wiper has maintained, but it's still at 4%.
No, I disagree completely. Again, we are going to demystify some of these opinion polls. Some may be sponsored by Ruto himself. You remember he used to talk about, who was that opinion, that pollster that time, the Mzungu, right? We called them out. So watch that space after the Delegates Congress. So one thing which is clear, even the numbers saying that UDA has moved from 32 to 16, that is misleading. That part has lost out. You wait and see the hemorrhage, the number of people wanting to join Wiper Patriotic Front now, even as we speak. It's amazing. People are coming.
Yep.
And others going to DCP, right? And others going to DAP.
Yep.
Of course, we are looking at these by-elections very seriously. And we want to be able, of course, they are not an end in themselves, but we will fight.
Okay. Now, again, I mentioned to you that in 2021, 2022, you were busy building One Kenya Alliance. At the time, it was OKA. Then your brothers, Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula, left you. Right now, we've seen you're fielding candidates in different by-elections. There are reports that the DCP candidate in Banisa has left the race.
I think it is this thing about negotiated democracy up north. You remember somebody like Abdikadir, who was one of he's a senior colleague, he's a senior counsel.
Yeah.
And he was a man behind the making of Constitution 2010. But he had to be negotiated out. I think that we'll have to ask wazee up north, wakubali pia democracy. I suspect that's what happened to the DCP candidate in Banisa.
Yeah.
But that does not deter us.
Yeah.
We know the ground is with us.
If such a thing were to happen in 2027, or even before, as you progress towards that election, and some of the members within the United Nations are swallowed, or they walk the journey of Kenya Kwanza or ODM or whoever that is, then what happens to ambition Kalonzo Musyoka?
Well, let me tell you, this ambition is at the moment a real situation. It is a movement. It is, again, riding strongly on the wave that Gen Zs have created in this country and in the region and the world. So without belaboring the point, 25th of June last year remains a very historic day.
Yep.
And what happened then can never be reversed. And that is when, of course, my own members of parliament are there. I cannot say they were impeached, all right? But that is when credibility of National Assembly was heavily undermined, people fleeing through the tunnels. And on our part, we have said those young people cannot have died in vain. Now, let me tell you, in 2023, we have, for example, Evans Kiratu, Eric Shione, in 2023, those names. And I can tell you about Bridget Njoki. I attended the funeral of that little girl who was watching television in Kiambu, and then a stray bullet just took her out. And there are people, of course, like Albert Ojwang. We all know about Albert Ojwang, the excesses of this administration. We know about Boniface Kariuki. Again, I attended the funeral of this young man who was just shot. And look at the brutality of the police that time. That's why earlier on I said, I hope this Douglas Kanja can continue showing high emotion positively. And of course, we remember Rex Masai was the first one to fall. What am I telling you? That situation is what has driven William Ruto out of the leadership of this country. And as long as the united opposition stays together, right, I don't see any chance whatsoever for William Ruto. They will try to manufacture numbers. They will try to give the impression that they can buy people, 10,000 of them going to State House on a weekly basis. And by the way, as a lot of Kenyans may know this, that as William Ruto entertains 10,000 teachers and so many other people in State House, there are state departments that have gone without paying their salaries to the public officers for 2 months. So ask yourself, what is happening? Where's the priority? I don't want to give you examples, but I can tell you, very important state departments. And they are talking about it. And of course, they're not paid and they're overtaxed. So the integrity of the payslip is an issue here. Any Kenyan, and there were about 8 million of them, who did not turn out to vote in 2022. Believe you me, this time, as Rigichi says, they'll wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and go and queue. So, and add to that, the 6-7 million young Kenyans who are angry. And I want to urge them to put aside the anger or suspend it and have it really now come to light. By, first of all, in 2 days' time, IBC will start registering voters. And we hope in the distribution of KIM kits, there will be equity, that they are not going to try to disadvantage and by so doing disenfranchise young Kenyans or sections of this country. We expect therefore a total of about 6 to 8 million young Kenyans, additional to 8 million, who are actually still crying out against heavy taxation and all this kind of.
And you think this should believe in your vision?
Of course, of course.
So let's talk about it. Let's talk about your vision.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the leadership of William Ruto, the administration is talking about 5.5% growth of GDP. I don't know what an appreciation you have of the state of the economy in the country and what solutions you would be proposing. Do
you recall, Sam, I was actually a co-chair with Kimani Ichung'wah, right, trying to deal with the 5 points that we identified.
Yep.
I was, of course, asked by Raila on behalf of Azimio to co-chair with Kimani Ichung'wah of Kenya Kwanza. The evidence and the presentations, the documents that were brought before us were heavy, important documents. But they said, don't touch on the matter of cost of living. That is our business. We are the government. And I recall, by the way, I recall that some of those sittings were somebody like Senator Omar, who used to be Secretary General of WIPA, now he's Secretary General of UDA, being very unkind to Baba, okay? And there was some altercation. Of course, I normally would not get involved in altercations.
The altercation was between you and him?
The issue, yes, because of abusing Baba, okay, that time.
Yeah.
You know, when I take some assignment, I do take it with a measure of commitment. And what the most important point I'm making is over 6,000 Kenyan companies were migrating from Kenya to Tanzania to Uganda because of high taxation. And this is why in this document, the agenda of William Ruto, he says about 400,000 jobs created in Arab countries for the young Kenyans. I must tell them, that's a good thing to export labor. Earnings from Kenyans in the diaspora, by the way, have boosted this economy. And this is like the goose that lays the golden egg, all right? But what countries like Thailand, Philippines, even Nepal, which has recently undergone a revolution, what they will normally do is they will have in their embassies, say in Jeddah, all right, or Riyadh is a capital of Saudi Arabia, the embassy of these countries will have a desk dealing with their nationals who have been employed in some of those places. And so that they are very well argued, agreed contracts on how their citizens, their nationals are to be treated in the countries where they find themselves working. But what is happening here in Kenya? We have had cases of sexual abuse and others, and nobody knows. One time, Secretary Mutua, I think he's a minister now for labor or something, he said, come get some jobs. Thousands of young Kenyans came. Can somebody ask Mutua what became of that situation? They don't know. They're confused. But I'm telling you, so when they therefore quote 400,000 jobs, it is a misleading statistic. When they say that the economy has stabilized, you see, they say the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Kenyans today, are they happier because of stabilization, quote unquote, of the economy? Or are they not struggling to pay school fees and their children cannot even go to university education? Look at the education. I'm telling you, education is a mess. The health sector is a mess. Devolution, there's no commitment to it. Even trying to take over the responsibilities of the county governments and bring them, you know, you've seen CS Badi saying the procurement law. The e-citizen, e-citizenship, what is it, e-citizen? It's another scam. So everything in this country is really tailored towards corruption.
What is the solution to the economic situation in the country?
Well, I say, Executive Order number 1, when we take over, do away with this illegality called housing levy. Lower taxation, lower taxes. Grow this economy. You cannot overtax citizens and hope you can create an economy. Allow a situation where I once visited some city in Egypt called 10th of Ramadan city. And out there, you create a whole thing like we're trying to do with Konza City. Now, these people don't talk about Konza City, for example, the African savannah. We're trying to create what, of course, we have in the Silicon Valley. But to get investors to come, there must be predictability on the taxation regime. Nobody knows what William Ruto will come up with next year and by another finance bill. Nobody knows. So again, we then experience flight of not only capital, but jobs. So these people are at sea. That is not how Kibaki and ourselves said we wanted Vision 2030. Do you hear them talk about Vision 2030? They talk about bottom up. And I remember my friend, my DVD, before he joined William Ruto, taking a bottle and putting it this way, saying this is bottom up. That is what they're talking about. Even at the level of the UN. You become a laughing stock.
That time he was opposing UDA.
Then he, of course,
he's not.
alinaswa. Alikuwa anasema nasa hawa
He's actually one of the senior leaders in UDA.
Yeah. No, he got, I completely, he must.
But
his ANC, I think, if I last checked, was completely kaput, swallowed up.
Yes. And I think Governor Timami is now deputy party leader, if I'm not mistaken.
That's okay. But that is their right, their democratic right.
Back in 2007, when you were campaigning to be president of the country, you used to speak about a 24-hour economy.
Indeed. And for some extent, Kibaki and us tried to do that, but continue.
But in 2027, it will be 20 years since that time.
Yes.
We still don't appear to have gotten it, 24-hour economy.
Because I wasn't given the opportunity to take leadership.
So now here's an opportunity to explain how you would do that.
I said, first of all, there must be things. Sanitize the economy properly, right? Do away with overtaxation, okay? Stop, the whole thing about governance is key. And governance will mean that we're not going to get our police officers arresting our young people, putting them in Subaru boots and holding them forever. We're going to make sure there's justice for all. You can never, talk of economic development where there is absence of justice and equity. And my training as a lawyer, now senior counsel, right? And by the way, has it occurred to any of you that we've never had that honorable profession of lawyers in producing a leader? And all they do in parliament, by the way, is to act. The whole thing is about making laws and whatever. So I think Kenya should try a lawyer for a head of state, even if it's not me. Because this thing about, it has eluded us for over time. So people give lip service to, we shall defend this constitution as by law established, and then you go on the next thing. Somebody said, I don't know whether it's Moses Kuria, he used to be a friend of mine. I hope he still is. He said, if you give it to Kalonzo Musyoka, he has absolutely no ambition to amass wealth because it's not right, right? He will not hurt you. Of course, if you go contrary to the law, one of the things you must do is those people who have committed excesses, economic crimes. By the way, we have an Economic Crimes Act, all right? Those people must face the full force of the law. And so by the time we're taking over, we'll tell them, surrender what you can. Because if you know you have stolen, we need you. Perhaps give them some amnesty if they behave. But if they don't, there's so much public stealing of public assets. They want even to privatize the Kenya pipeline, a strategic infrastructure. You don't think they want, of course, even JKIA to stop them.
You don't think privatizing some state corporations is right?
No, there are some, of course, which are private, which are loss-making, okay? But there are others which are very strategic, like Kenya Pipeline Corporation. How do you privatize that, all right? So these are some of the things. And what we know is that somebody wants to get all the money in the world. I don't know.
Okay.
So we must do that. We must draw the line. And so this is the time to do so.
Mheshimiwa Musyoka,
before we now go, and by the way, Kenyans are saying, we have seen you people give us manifesto after manifesto, like that one, of course, we talked about 24-hour economy. I still believe in it. I still believe in Vision 2030. We now have 5 years to 2030. We should perhaps now begin to think of Kenya at 100, because we are now 62. How will Kenya at 100 years look like? We begin to look at that. But these people are just bottom-up. Because bottom-up eating and really making, I was going to use some 4-letter word, but I will not use it.
Okay, let's talk about, because one of the challenges that investors complain about, or business persons, is first the regime of regulation, but secondly the question of cost of power. Do you have solutions, proposed solutions to first the regulation of business, the licensing itself, and secondly, the cost of power?
Yeah. I'm so happy you raised that issue. Because only yesterday, the headline in the Standard was William Ruto's administration has messed up with the High Grand Falls Dam. That dam was supposed to produce some 700 megawatts of electricity. Now, because this administration will want to bring in investors who will give them 10% or 20% cuts, They want to delay this thing. By the way, I followed this issue. Even it went before Public Procurement Authority of Treasury. It has delayed over 10 years. Under Kibaki and ourselves, this was a Vision 2030 project. Now, William Ruto shamelessly goes to witness the inauguration of Ethiopia's Renaissance Dam, which is producing 5,000 megawatts of electricity, right? Of course, Egyptians had issues with it, but look at that, 5,000. We are telling William Ruto, in order to lower the cost of production, the cost of electricity in Kenya, please, first of all, increase the volume, because Kenyans may not know, at midnight, we get electricity from ON4's dam, a thing which happened even before independence. We have the capacity now, but William Ruto has messed this up. Infrastructure, Usawa is another very important project of to dualize Mombasa, Nairobi highway. That also has been thrown out, saying retender. And this other one, high grant force, retender. I can tell you because I followed this thing. And actually that time said, the only thing I seem to agree with William Ruto on is high grant force. Because he met Prime Minister Sunak of the UK in a place called Sharm el-Sheikh. Sharm el-Sheikh is a resort city of Egypt. And they were there on climate change discussions. William Ruto told Sunak, this project is very important for us. And the British government put its full weight and support to the realization of this project. Over 400,000 jobs are now at risk. How does William Ruto expect to now, is he going to export every Kenyan out of the country? It's not possible, right? So 400,000 jobs. We were going to actually now make this country food secure by irrigating the whole chunk from Tharaka Nithi, Kitui, to Tana River, to Garissa, and of course check the flooding. You know the flooding, the perennial flooding on the River Tana, right, before it goes on to Kipini. All that was going to be checked. Imagine that irrigation capability. So when William Ruto talks about agriculture in this agenda, agriculture, what is he talking about? So we need, first of all, to feed our people. So this project is critical.
What would President Musyoka do?
Of course, very quickly, even now, we'll talk to the British, we'll talk to the Americans about the high ground. But this was our thing. The immediate former ambassador before Meg Whitman was Makata, whose father was a missionary in Tharaka Nithi. His heart is in it, but he's not given the opportunity. Saying retend again. So the PPP thing, the thing that should have been proper. We are not asking William Ruto to produce a penny, just like Uhuru Kenyatta, of course, did on the expressway, which is a landmark. So everything William Ruto is trying to do is a mess. And even on the Mau Summit Road, which is a good thing, he had to dispossess other people.
All right.
And for that, of course, the country has paid heavily.
Right.
So in this area of economic management...
Of course, the construction of a dam would take time. Perhaps...
We will start.
More than a term.
Oh, my goodness. When you start, because the funding, I am told, funding was lined up. There was no question of lack of funding to this project. International investors were lined up. And so, the moment they signed, if this PPP committee signed, and by the way, it went through the committee in Treasury and all of that, and now it is just being, no, don't do it, because he wants to bring a friend. That signing itself will begin to open avenues, even for bush clearing and other things like those.
Okay, right? So it will take time.
I'm actually angry about this.
But the cost of energy...
Because it's terrible.
Please don't be
you don't
angry
do that.
Because you need to have a conversation. So it will take time, but the cost of energy is still a bother.
Yeah. That would have brought the cost of energy, okay?
It would have. Now
of
it's
course.
not.
Yeah.
What will you do?
Of course. This country, green energy, is the talk of the world today. Green energy, solarization, okay? A lot of investors would want to do that. Increase even our windmills. When you look at Gong Hills, you begin to see some of those things. The Turkana wind project, not enough. We have a lot of capacity to improve our own intake of power. And of course, to renegotiate, that's a deep issue, renegotiate those power supply contracts. They are tainted with corruption.
How possible is that?
Well, I just don't have the time now. because you will be highlighting, just like today, the headline in The Nation again is the same cartel of Kenya, what is it, KTDC? Kenya Trading Development Corporation, which was revived by William Ruto's administration. And now, because remember, there was some contract to bring in mafuta ya kupikia. I hope they have since destroyed that because it must be now unfit for human consumption. Now, our rice farmers in Mwea are crying out because this country is importing everything. Even, by the way, the ship that we talked about it as United Opposition, there was a ship that was carrying sugar unfit for human consumption from Brazil. When we made noise, as we speak that ship is headed to Mozambique. At least we managed to save Kenyans from poisoning. All right? Now look at this rice thing. It's another cartel. William Ruto must give it to his cronies to import rice because they say that perennial shortage of 800,000 metric tons of rice, whatever, white rice from Pakistan, whatever, cartel. The whole thing smacks of corruption. So unless we really rid this country of corrupt leaders, our young Kenyans have no future. So we are determined.
But then, Mheshimiwa, it looks like those that you call cartels, they're the ones that fund candidates for elections.
Yeah.
You would require to be funded, no?
Well, we have to check. We need to check some of them. I know for a fact, some, if my friends give me the flagship, of course there are people who say, oh yeah, we need to fund. All right? But I think I know this country long enough, some.
So you'll be funded in exchange for what?
No, I'm just saying that people will come. But a leader who wants to bring revolutionary change, because this country is in a revolutionary mode. That's why I'm saying William Ruto and his cartel and people have absolutely no chance, okay? Because that revolution must come to fruition, okay? And when, therefore, you have a revolutionary situation, even those who are seen to be corrupt will be called out. All
right, Mheshimiwa Musyoka. Of course, getting to the conversation about there was a promise by President William Ruto of dealing with state capture.
He never did.
What you're alluding to is like there's a new sort of state capture. We'll talk about what you would do on that, but also dealing with corruption, even as we take questions from the members of the public and the viewers who are tuned in this evening at JKL. That is, the hashtag to use is JK Live, and the handle is at Citizen TV Kenya. Sam Gituku. We're back in a moment with more.